So this is Professor Lusheen. This week we're going to do two things. We're going to identify the outliers in the data set, and I'll explain why we're going to do the remainder of the work both with them in and with them out. Basically you can see on the screen here, the reason why the average is so much higher than the median is because of the outliers. The claims that are so much more expensive than what the norm might be or the 50th percentile might be. And the problem is that drives up average. That also, when we use the risk-based approach to prioritizing, one really expensive claim will make that, whatever category we're focusing on that they come from, will make them a priority when we have to consider both with and without. Oh, look at that. That's not even right. It's supposed to be right there. And that's supposed to be right. I think the last time we worked on this, if you recall, things weren't playing very nice. So, so this is where we were. I'm just going to back up one step and go to the assistive document. And here it is. What is the quality of the data? We already kind of assessed that a little bit with the distribution. Now what we're going to do is we're going to sort by highest amount paid for a claim down to the lowest amount, and then we're going to graph it. And then what we do is we look for natural breaks. What a break is an extended space between two claims, so that what we want is for them to be more gradual. When you get more gradual, you're starting to get into the group of data that tends to be more normal, the normal distribution. When it's really extended out, when there's big space, and it's vertical space on this graph here, then we tend to call it an outlier. And then we create these descriptive tables, both with and without, and then we move forward. And when we do the trending, we're going to do with and without, and then you'll see why we do it that way. Okay, that was a recent development in my technique. And then we'll complete this annual trending. We'll do some basic. See, we got the count with and without, total paid with and without, the average per claim with and without. You can see what the difference is. So that's where we're going to get this week. So let's bring it up. We need to create a new tab to continue on. So we're going to go back to our descriptives. Highlight the upper left-hand corner so the whole spreadsheet we're looking at is highlighted. I hit Control-C to copy it, and there should be lines. We should have the lines moving. Let's try that again. And copy. Usually it does that. If I hit paste, will it go? It did go. All right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be building from our initial design here. So this is with 625. This is all going to change once we get up and start playing with the outliers. All right, so let me show you the easy way. I just learned this not too long ago. I used to highlight the whole thing, and it was a big mess. One thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the top row, and I'm going to do wrap text so that, and I'm going to center it just so things get a little bit prettier. Now remember, we're not going to use these. So what I'm going to do is shrink them even more so they turn into stuff that I really can't see, because I want to do total paid. So I'm going to highlight row 1, go to data, then go to filter. So it's the tab for data, and then click on filter, and it gives these little drop down arrows for everything. What allows you to do now is, and the reason why we put a space down below, it'll sort this entire data set. I'm going to put in one more just to be sure. Everything that's touching, everything that's consecutive, it'll sort it, and you get to select what you want to sort it by. So I want to sort by total paid, high to low. Click on the little window. I can go smallest to largest to smallest, by color. I can do all kinds of things. I want to do largest to smallest. And so it kept every claim together if you have the filter. If you simply tried to sort by highlighting a row, it would only sort that row. So every single row was sorted in the same fashion as the what I selected as being the criterion. All right, so it's high to low. Now what I want to do is go ahead and highlight the data, and I'm going to graph it. And it should come out down below, I hope, if I start from the top and go down. Here's all these zeros. We know there's about 29 something % of them. And of course, this speed is slow because we're recording. All right, I'm at the bottom. And then we go to insert. So we were on data. Now we're going to click on insert. And we're going to go to the bar graph. Just like that. Is it put it on top or bottom? Oh, it just stuck it right here. Great. We can drag it over to the side. Actually, maybe I'll even just drag it down. There we go. And let's take a look at this. Let's see if we can identify some natural breaks and start estimating where we'd want to, where the cutoff would be for our defining outliers. So this is a bit subjective. So here's our entire data set. We do know that, what was the percent that's, above 50, the 1150,000? Do you remember? If I was to go back to distribution, remember I did the calculation right at the end. 49%. So 11 claims account for about half of all the benefit payments that have been made. And I need to move this over one there. And this is going to be my outliers analysis. Okay. So the way I typically do it is I hate saying that. I investigate and attempt to find these big verticals until it gets somewhat consistent in its decline. And it appears the lowest one might be right here. What's the amount? It's claim 36. It's about 17,000. It's pretty low though. You want to leave some meat on the bone. I'm really thinking that this is the most drastic right here. 0.19, 32,000. And what's this one? What's 20? 20 is 26,000. So that's about a $6,000 drop. But you're probably thinking that's way too much. Well, we're going to do it with and without. So we're not going to lose anything. We're just going to consider it from more of what would be considered more of a normal distribution versus purely, what am I trying to say? Raw or biased, or what do they call that? Skewed. Skewed is the word I was looking for. All right, so typically I've got some room over here to give it numbers. I'm going to shrink this loss description column because I need to be able to see my total paid. And then I'm going to do outliers. And I'm just going to start with 1, 2, 3 and scroll down until I get to 32, which is right here. There's 19 outliers. That's an estimation, okay? That's just based purely on what we just looked at. There we go. That's better. So now I'm going to do the scary thing. First, I'm going to save my work before I do the scary thing. I'm going to do a file, save as. I'm going to give it a new name because now I'm looking at outliers. So I'm going to change this into week 2 outliers. And save it under there. Make sure you're practicing this. Make sure you're saving it. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to highlight rows 2 through 20. That's 1 through 19, right? I'm going to go over, hit right, and I'm going to do a cut. So I'm not deleting, I'm cutting. Okay? Then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page and get kind of beyond the work that's going on here. What happened here? Chart title. Oh, I think because I shrunk. No, don't worry, I can fix that. No problem. Okay, I think I have to go all the way over to column A and go paste, Control V. So now all those expensive claims are removed. I got to see what I did to my chart here. I think I messed it up because I shrunk what would be considered the first. Yeah, I did. Okay. So that was the first, column which my table was located. I'm going to move it away from it so I can play with it. All right, let's take a look at it now. So all those really expensive ones. So before it went up to like 200 and something. Now look what it is. It's all the way down to was this 26 or 27,000, 26,000. And so there are still some gaps here, right? But for the most part, it's very smooth, right up to 15. And what's interesting is I did the cut and paste in order for this to be updated. So what I need now is the comparison, the original, right? So I'm going to go over to my descriptive tab. I'm going to highlight the original, Control C to copy, go back over to my outliers, choose a spot here, right click, go to special paste, and it should be a linked picture. Uh-oh. Wouldn't it just be like Excel that it like updated and got rid of that really cool function they had? I'm just going to do this for the sake of it. And I'm not as closed up as I should be. So here's the original with 625. We've now removed 19. So what does that bring us down to? 606 and 606. Because 19 plus 6 is 25. I'm going to get rid of these because that's already on my other page. And I want to do the difference in subtotals. Difference in subtotal. I should write that out. So I want to compare the two. So the original, oh, it's a picture, so it won't let me do it. Hulk smash. I could do a portal. I don't like doing that though. Maybe I need to. All right, I'll portal it. So just like when you type equal and then either a function or type in an equation, you can hit equal, go to another tab, click there and hit return. And what it does, it portals it over. Oh, what are you doing? Why did it do that? Control Z, copy, paste. It should. There, it did it. And it didn't do it. This is confounding. Don't you love it when the instructor like just does this stuff? Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to try it again. I had put in an equal sign. Yeah, now it's all really whacked. Let's try that again. Copy, outliers, paste special. What I'm looking for is a picture with a link. Paste. I guess you can test it here, can't you? Ooh, I wonder if that is connected still. Paste values. I'm going to try that. I know I shouldn't be as excited as I am, but let's see if it works. All right, so the difference in the subtotal equals the original minus what the new one is. So that's the difference right there. How much in total? That much. What's the percent of it? We've got the difference divided by the original. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. I held that in too much. That hurt. I hate it when your sneezes hurt. All right, so we are at 62% of the original amount. So that's the difference. So it's down from that. This is the amount that it went down 60. So we're at 47%. How can I tell? Because if I take this divided by this, it's going to be 37.53. If it was in, I don't know why it did that. I'm just doing this to show off. 37.53. There it is. I only did that to show you. So this is the amount. So this is basically the percent outlier percent of original. That's what that is. Yeah. So, I mean, essentially it could have come down here. Up. I do need to bring down this row so I know what I'm working with. Paste. And then I can do the totals up here. Equal, sum, parentheses, highlight. Boom. Drag it over, turn it into currency, get rid of the pennies. So in 19 outliers, 19 outliers removed. This is what's there in only 19. So you might be thinking, oh, that you removed a lot. But the thing is, we removed the, okay, remember, the actual severity of outcome tends to be based on inches and seconds. Is there anything unique about these outliers that would make it so that we really need to focus on them, or do we only focus on them because they're expensive? That's what Heinrich was trying to tell us. He said it's really easy to focus and try to prevent these. They're expensive. It's the $0 claims that tend to get ignored, but he's saying that more frequency is better. The more information, the better. Is there a major difference in between the outliers, the most expensive claims, and the ones that are not as expensive? Well, let's take a look. All right, so what I can do is I can sort these by these different variables to find out, are they indeed different? And sometimes what we do is we can find out then as we continue our analysis if they are indeed different, or would they fall in the same categories that we would have identified by removing them. And if that's true, then there should be no difference between the serious injuries, would be considered serious injuries, and the ones that are $0, the near miss. Therefore, by studying everything, we should be able to eliminate the more expensive and the more frequent, right? And this week, some of the readings attempt to or focus on this idea of SIF, serious injury fatality, because there's a big movement going on out there. And I kind of say that pejoratively too, that they believe that things that cause the situations, the environments, the causal agents that result in really severe stuff, the disastrous stuff, the really expensive stuff, is very different than the near miss. And I think that Heinrich and Bird were just telling us that, sure, there are a few circumstances like that, but they're few and far in between, and that most of our severe stuff that we see in the common companies, common workplaces, there is no difference between the high frequency low amount and the low frequency high amount. Okay, that's a theory. That's a hypothesis we're going to test. All these are indemnified. The locations, they're kind of all over the place. We have a few open claims here, which I think need special notification because they're going to continue to be paid until they're closed. Why are they still open? Because either the person's still being treated because they're not 100%, or they just haven't settled on the case, which indicate, well, if the claim is a permanent partial disability, they're still maybe working that out. But once they're closed, that's it. They're done. So let's look at the causes. Let's look at the detailed cause. What else can we look at? Male, female doesn't really help us. Yeah, it's just these things right here. The location. Let's do that first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight this line, and this is just a simple insightful that I want you all to do, and this is what you're going to be really writing up, besides the comparison of the before and after. Again, we're going to be doing it both with and without, and by leaving, here, okay, let me explain something. Instead of deleting, just by cutting and pasting, this remains open. I can cut and put it right back. The beauty of that is I can do that. I can do like an analysis, like a trending, and then I can copy and paste that, then remove it, and everything automatically updates by itself. As long as I'm working with the full data set and not doing designated breakdowns, which we have to do, but there's only a few of them. So let's highlight this header row, data, filter, and I want to sort it. Let's do by location number. Oh, look at the length of service. That is somewhat interesting, isn't it? That we may have to look at later. Okay, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it would be very interesting to see location number 1100 accounts for, how many again? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the 19 outliers. Okay, that's interesting. Length of service, I just want to do an average. Two. Really? The average length of service with the most expensive claims is 2 years. Let's see what it is here. Equal average H2 to H626. Oh, it's a little bit younger, but not much. It's really interesting. So 2.5 years for that. Let's add a decimal point and see what happens. Oh, it's 2.4. 2.4. It's the same. It isn't different. It isn't different. I thought it was going to be. That doesn't seem like it's very long. Maybe they have a high turnover. I don't know. So we found one thing there. So if we do it by state or jurisdiction, does that change? Colorado is number one because they seem to be connected with. Remember, we're going to say this is all in Wisconsin, just for the sake of discussion, and that these are towns within Wisconsin. They're all indemnity. Let's do the class code. This is policy class code, by the way. There's only 2 here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 of them. So policy class code 8833 accounts for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 of the 19. So we can do almost ratios of what we have here, averages, if we've got numeric like that, to what's above. I wonder if there's more opens here. I wonder if we did it by date of injury. Lost date. I just want to see. Yeah, oldest to newest. Got some 2019s, some 2021s. Any COVID related? No. Okay. Just want to make sure what we got here. All right, let's do cause and see what's going on. We'll go A to Z. We've got a lot of resident patient handling and slip, trip, and fall. So if I was to go copy, paste, resident patient handling, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of 19, slip, trip, and fall. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of 19. That is a total of 14 of 19. Just those 2. And do these change much? Competitive, resident, combative. There's different types of resident patient handling. There's transfer, repositioning, assisting. But they all kind of fall under that. Slip, trip, and fall. If it's a liquid or grease, it'd be same level. There's the same level. Miscellaneous, don't know what that means. Their fingers got hurt. I'm curious, aren't you? There's 2 miscellaneous. We can go over here and read more about it, which is kind of cool. I'm going to expand this out. And you should be reading these too. Injured workers, IW, claims that a trip and fall caused a heavy... Okay, I don't want to read any more of that. Wow. This is where you read some things that's like, what? Okay. That surprised me. Why was it fingers? Body part, fingers. It wasn't fingers. It caused woman part bleeding. Boy, this is really odd. But it was expensive. She needed a blood transfusion. So the medical was $26,000, the indemnity is $25,000, and the legal expense is $22,000. Huh. $74,000. That one threw me. And that was miscellaneous, slip, trip, fall. I don't understand why they say fingers. Miscellaneous. Let's see what this one said. Injured worker was standing at patient's bedside and turned to pick up supplies, stumbled, tripped, and fell into a table and onto the floor, resulting in a laceration to head and FX to right patella. Would that be contusion? Fracture. They called it a knee, but it was a head injury, slip, trip, and fall. How much was that one? That was 50,000. Oh my gosh, that's one of the most expensive claims. Is it? It's the second most expensive claim. Person just turned and fell. Yeah, it was a male nurse. Okay, I mean, and that's what I mean, you guys. Was it something like super unusual? Like, oh, this thing popped out of the floor, hellhole opened, and they tripped on it. No, it tends to be just everyday work. Let's look at the most expensive claim. I always like to do that. Actually, let's do that. Let's sort by most expensive claims. I'm sorry this is going a little bit long. I just love reading this stuff. I'll be ending it really soon because we kind of found a decent place to cut off at. Most of the nurse was cleaning and repositioning a patient. She turned around to reach for a towel, fell forward, struck her elbow and knee. That's the most expensive claim. The second is standing at a patient's bedside, turned. Here's the thing, turned. Both of them turned around. Turned to do something that's part of the job, and then they fell. Next one, injury, say strain to left shoulder, repositioning a patient. So all these were working with patients while connecting an IV. Patient swung his arm to try to grab the line, put his hand back to his side, and heard a pop in her back. Again, working with patients. Let's see what the top four say. Slip, trip, fall, resin, position. I mean, yeah, they fell, but they were serving a patient at the time. Here's a patient transfer. Let's see if this one has something to do in the service of patients. Drew was attempting to place a backboard under a patient during a code blue and tripped over coworker's foot, falling sideways. Next one was pulling up a patient in bed and felt a sharp ache in their shoulder. There is a trend here, ladies and gentlemen. This one, yeah. Talk about this one in your weekly report. No specific incident injuries occurred over time due to repeated lifting, turning. Yep, same thing. Kelly and another nurse were pulling up a patient. Employee who normally drives to see our clients was driving in the rain. The vehicle stopped. At brakes lights. Okay, so that was a traffic accident. That's a unique one. Injured wrist from picking up trash and linen all day while pushing chair in patient. With patient, maybe. Felt pain in arm. Providing patient care. Removed an IV bag hanging to throw it away. Right foot caught on a restraint that was no longer in use, but is still attached to the bed. Fell. Strained back and leg attempting to move a rental bed to get another one. Assisting a patient from supine to sit. Well, I think supine is laying down. Laying down to sit. When the patient resisted, back went. Walking to the cafeteria, slipped and fell on water. Busted open chin. Injured worker states strained. Okay, so read these. Read more of them. Because here's the thing. How can we do effective safety interventions if we don't have all the data? And although they labeled some of these slip and fall, just reading the job or task that they were doing before it happened, I think maybe there's some additional insight we need. That these tend to be occurring just in everyday care. They're slipping and tripping and they're bumping things. I mean, what it really gets down to is, does the room need to be designed in a different way so that workers don't have to turn and grab something, that everything is kind of in front of them or working? Are there different types of technology we can use to better hold the patient in status or help move them without having to use core body movements? This is me speaking out the top of my head. At least let's hope that's where it's coming from. But I want you guys to kind of compare these. Here's another thing I'd like you to compare, and that would be the changes in some of this stuff. The max, we'd like to get this down to about 2%, but 2.84% is not bad, because that means the most expensive claim in this data set here, which is $26,000, only has 2.84% influence if it's used in a risk calculation, whereas the most expensive claim here had 8.68. There is a diminishing rate of return. There may be a point in which it gets down to 2, but you start losing some of the meat on the bone. And so it's really a give and take. We're going to do it with and without. And I may find a different breakpoint that I like better, but I'd like to do the trend analysis before I make that decision. We completely lost the, oh, there it is. It's way over here. So there may be one at 20,000. There may be one more like right around whatever this is, 18,000. I wouldn't want to go much lower than that. So I'll test that in the next one, because once you do it once, and then what you do is you can just remove, you take out some more, see what it does, compare this, compare the other charts, and it's just interesting. So one other thing, the average was about 3,900. The median was 300. Now the average is 1,500. The median is 280. The median went down by $18. The average went down. It's less than half of what it was. Do you see the influence? Median didn't change much. Why? The median is affected by the $0 claims. The $0 claims give us frequency. That's what they do. What we're trying to do is find some sort of happy medium in between frequency and severity. This one has gone way too long, and I apologize, but I could go on and on. There's so many interesting insights that we gained by removing some outliers. We actually looked at some outliers. We did some assessment in regards to, are there any categories that tend to be more frequent in the more expensive claims? And then we actually read all of these. And what did we find out? What were the people doing? What sort of act or part of their job were they doing that tended to lend to this? And what we'll do is we'll also do a similar assessment when we get up to these more frequently. And I would venture that we'd find that a majority of the acts that were going on prior to recordable, or I should say compensated injuries, would be in the service of the patients. But I think we'll find some other oddities too. We'll see. I'd be very surprised if we looked up here and those were the only ones incurred while servicing the patients, just in sort of everyday service type things. So that's what I got this week. The next one, we'll get into the trending analysis, at least the first step of the trending analysis.